Kupp uses a very specific, unique trick to beat defenders repeatedly. He's turned route running into a science and has used a surprising tactic to consistently create separation. When everybody else zigs, he zags, which has made him one of the best receivers in the league and helped him log arguably the greatest receiving season ever in 2021. Before we dive into Kupp's rule of threes approach, I want to thank this week's sponsor, Ipsos Say. They are a market research company which pays you to take simple surveys. You put in limited work and get good, easy money in return. If you want to volunteer to take their research surveys, you get points towards gift cards that can go to almost anything. Amazon, Target, Starbucks if you're backed up. You can get a lot for just doing a little. They're super transparent about what the data is being used for. The surveys are honestly really easy to do. You can knock a few of them out pretty quick. I've gotten food, I just got a White Sox hat off Amazon, I do a few surveys here and there, and boom, I get money. They're tailored to whatever you like, so they don't really get boring. So if you want to check them out, and for this, why not? All you got to do is click the link in the description box to start earning rewards with Ipsos Say today. In an interview with Drew Lieberman from the Sideline Hustle YouTube channel, which I'll link below, Kupp explained why he uses the rule of threes. Knowing defensive backs don't get fooled by your first move, they are too good in the NFL, they know you're trying to set them up for your second, which they'll jump, so he uses a third. Receivers running 4.2 40s sprinting at you as fast as they can will give you something outside, then break back in lightning quick, and it takes a good cornerback to not bite on the first move, then to be able to stay patient and jump the second. This is what makes Kupp so good and what makes him unique. Instead of just perfecting his first and second moves, he adds the third. That is the rule of threes. Here, Vernon Hargreaves is playing off-man coverage and is simply not ready for everything Kupp puts on this out route. The key to any good route is to sell go until it's not, so Kupp flies off the line as if he's running downfield to put Hargreaves on his toes. Once he's put the fear of God in him deep, you can see Hargreaves opening his hips to the inside where Kupp's attacking. Kupp shows him his first move to the outside, which per usual Hargreaves doesn't fall for, but then when he hits him with move number 2, he jumps inside and shifts his eyes to the quarterback because he thinks he's about to pick it off, then Kupp creates an ungodly amount of separation in the red zone. He's created a science out of destroying these corners where he's constantly gathering information. Before the play even starts, he sees that Hargreaves is leveraged outside of him and about 8 yards off. This means he's trying to protect this outside area since there's nobody there and force Kupp back inside to where all the bodies are. So if Kupp can get outside, he'll be free. If he doesn't attack inside to get him to flip his hips in the first place, the rule of threes might not be as effective. But he understands leverage and angles and how to attack him in the down, and he gives Hargreaves a swirly. He's excellent at feeling out where defenders have their help from, what they're trying to protect against, and how he can exploit it. He'll often see bracket coverage, which has a cornerback usually guarding anything outside and underneath, and a safety taking anything inside and over the top. Again, running this out route, he knows he has to threaten Robert Alford deep away from where he wants to attack. This is the stem of the route where he's going to stem up the field to threaten he's splitting the two, so Alford has to flip his hips and run up the field. And his explosiveness off the line immediately gets him flipped. It's now much harder for him to drive on Kupp, breaking his route off in any direction, so the stem of Kupp's route sets up the later separation. The first move outside, to where he's gonna end up, moves Alford off his spot, but the second move is what really sends him. Alford thinks he's exploding upfield, then literally has to baseball turn. He gets sent so hard. He's literally looking at us for help. My guy is down badder than anybody's ever been down. You might be asking, why doesn't every receiver do this? Well, it takes time to make it all happen on a given play, which makes Kupp even rarer of a specimen. He ran a glacial 4.62 40, which is in just the 13th percentile, and while he's gotten faster over time, speed is not his game. He uses technique to create separation and to provide the illusion of speed. Here he's facing press coverage and needs to get to the corner, which is challenging against outside leverage. Kupp knows he's getting press, so he attacks the outside leverage to elicit hands from Sean Murphy-Bunting. This slows Murphy-Bunting since he has to stop his feet to punch, but since Kupp is anticipating that happening, he's already ready to chop down his arms. Then he starts to stack him. Stacking is ideal for a receiver and a DB's hell. It's vertical leverage where he's basically in front of Murphy-Bunting, making him have to catch up from behind. Now he's what's called out of phase, where he's behind him and can't look for the ball. As I said, it's a place you don't want to be as a cornerback, since it makes you ultra sensitive to any move Kupp makes. He gives him the 1, 2, 3, and then he separates. It's the amount of separation he gets and how consistently he gets it, and it's not by accident. When you study the game like he does, you pick up things that'll help you constantly get open. He noticed that receivers fake one way to get the defensive back to go that way, but that actually doesn't make any sense. If you're faking to your left like he is here, other receivers think that's threatening Micah Hyde that way, but it's actually not. A good coverage defender like Hyde reads the waist and down, so if you're stabbing with your left foot to force the defender that way, really the only way you can go is right. Hyde knows it, actually flips his hips opposite Kupp's initial fake ready for the second move, which is usually inside, but Kupp hits him with the 3, and once again, tons of separation. Not only does he use the rule of threes on a micro level within the route, but he also uses it in a macro sense with 3 different routes in one. This one against Carlton Davis was weeks in the making, where previously against him he shimmies and honestly has, in my opinion, 5 moves. I guess to him, the shimmy is him just setting him up. But on that second move, like we've talked about, Davis completely takes the bait, and this route went viral. The next step is Kupp showing he can run these out routes on the goal line like we've been seeing. McVay, and the NFL in general, calls them Omaha routes, and Kupp can shift gears when he needs to and doesn't always need to use the rule of threes. He has other tricks where he starts running outside early to bait Marco Wilson into coming up, then takes an extra pressure step into him to stop his momentum and shield him from where he's going. Now Wilson thinks he's running like a corner route, so he tries to bang into him, but Kupp jets back outside and creates just enough of that separation. The next step of the route, which builds off Omaha, is the China part, which is what the McVay tree tags onto an outbreaking route to have you come back inside, so he'd call this an Omaha China. Kupp doesn't run it as much as he used to, these are from 2019, but you can see him faking that Omaha route, then whipping back inside for part number 2. Now when we get to the third part, McVay calls this route the Ocho. It's not from dodgeball. This is a Omaha for the outbreaker, China has him breaking back in, then an out route at the end of it. So, Ocho. Kupp fakes the China route, the second part of the move, and just like the rule of threes referring to the third move in the route, the third part of Ocho fools Davis. All of this takes a lot of physical ability to pull off, but I can't emphasize enough how brilliant Kupp is in terms of his football IQ. We saw that play out when he gave an insanely in-depth answer after a touchdown. Well, insanely in-depth for the non-film grinders, people who aren't us. Here's what went down from the man himself.
Yeah, they had a little 3-deep fire zone, brought the nickel off the edge, safety dropped down.
So he says they're in 3 deep with these 3 and notices his defender is inside leverage, which is a blitz tell since he's trying to cross his face to get to the QB quickly, and if you blitz a corner, typically a capping safety comes down to take his man.
It didn't look like they were doing a replacement fire zone.
Okay, so a replacement fire zone is when a D lineman drops back, so instead of the 3 underneath defenders in typical fire zone, you'd have 4. Kupp thinks they're not replacing the blitz because Damian Wilson probably wouldn't be so far over if Josh Allen was covering the flat, so Wilson would be lined up closer to him.
So I knew with the back away, we were going to get 3 pushing through.
With the back away, we were going to get 3 pushing through. As we've talked about here a million times, with each receiver counted outside in 1, 2, 3, and just 3 underneath defenders like Kupp said, instead of the replacement 4th, Wilson has to push outside with the back outside so the Jags can cover everybody strong. This leaves Kupp one-on-one with the safety coming down, and business is booming. This is what it takes to be at his level, where he's seeing everything play out before it even happens, and that's before he even implements the rule of threes. The Rams do a lot with him that's even in addition to this ISO route running stuff. He's so good at feeling space on these screens where he can use his point receiver to pick off defenders and nudge him out of the way. Then McVay can scheme plays off of that because of his feel for where the defense is at all times. He's also an incredible blocker, so when he's inside the formation like this, he can catch touchdowns or blow up a safety to spring the running back too. He is one of the greatest route technicians of our time, where he isn't the strongest or fastest, but is one of the smartest and is one of the hardest working players in the entire league. By being quicker than most, he's able to add an additional dimension to his game which goes against everything defenders are taught. When you see the first move, wait, then jump the second, well, not against Cooper Kupp. The rule of threes makes each of his first and second moves that much deadlier, since now you're on your heels waiting and waiting, and his explosive production says it all. Yes, he's a bit older and coming off injury, but he has everything it takes to only get better and better. And as long as he's on the field, Cooper Kupp is always going off.